We can be seated. Big Yasher Koach to Melanie Backrack for leading the Torah service and to everyone who read Torah and Haftarah. I'm so excited now to introduce our teacher of Torah this morning. So we have a member of our community, Michelle Brafman, a leader in our community, a member of our board, who is such a beautiful writer and teacher. She teaches writing. She's a writing instructor. She's also an essayist and a novelist. Many of us have read her beautiful novel, Washing the Dead. And if you haven't, I really recommend it. She really brings a Jewish heart and a lens to her writing that shows something really unique about what it means to be human. And her next novel will come out in June of 2023, which is called Swimming with Ghosts. We are so proud of you, and we are so honored that you will be teaching us this morning. And I'm so excited to introduce our, not only a member of our community, but award-winning novelist, Michelle Brafman.
There's a lot of microphone activity this morning. I hope this is okay. Thank you so much, Rabbi Magdal. That was such a beautiful introduction. And thank you, Minyan Chaverim, for letting me crash your party. I really appreciate it. It's such an honor to be on the Bima and in this space. I really love this sanctuary and intimacy. And it's a place that I call sacred. So what a gift. I will add that I have not delivered a Devar Torah or Drash since my bat mitzvah. I actually fished this little charm out of my jewelry box from my bat mitzvah. So I have a request. If you could just do me a little favor and reach into your tallis bag and find one of those sun-kissed fruit chews from the last bar mitzvah, or into your purse from a mint you might have pinched from your last meal at Guapo's. I would be so thrilled for you to toss it gently my way after I finish my Devar. That would be so affirming. But seriously, in preparation for today, I called my dad, who suggested that I reference several sources, including a set of Midrash texts that he gave my kids when they were little. And when I cracked open the book containing today's Parsha, I noticed that he'd written the following inscription. He actually wrote it in all of the books, but here we go. Always look for the life lessons in the book, and you will find the good life. Well, my father is passionate about the relevance of ancient texts and how they can offer us guidance and spiritual sustenance, particularly in hard times. And he's so right. My lofty wish for today is that something in today's Parsha or in the davening or in my Devar will provide you with a sense of hope and comfort or a word or a thought that you need to hear today in this moment. But first, let me give you a little Spark Notes version of this week's Torah reading, Parshat Balak. So the Israelites are in the midst of their final preparations to enter Canaan, the land God had promised. They're camped out on the plains of Moab. Finally, after decades of wandering, they're about to enter the Holy Land. Balak, king of Moab and no fan of the Israelites, looks out at the sea, these people occupying his land. He's not happy. So what does he do? In a desperate move, he hires a soothsayer named Balak to curse the Israelites. That was a thing back then, cursing people, and I guess it worked. So why does Balak curse the Israelites? Why does he do this? Why does Balak hire this soothsayer? Because he's petrified. He views this group of former slaves wandering through the desert as formidable. He's afraid that they're going to take what's his, what belongs to the people of Moab. He's afraid. I'm afraid. I fear what is slipping through our fingers, like our human and reproductive rights for starters. I'm afraid of what might happen if I attend a simple 4th of July parade. I'm afraid of what will become of our democracy. In full disclosure, I admit to having cursed the Supreme Court and the politicians who are blocking sensible gun legislation. I cursed when I learned about the shootings in Highland Park and Uvalde and Buffalo, and sadly, the list goes on and on. I've invited my family, friends, and people who I feel are like-minded into my psychic tent to join me in that yucky us against them way of cursing to those who I feel are responsible for robbing us all of our safety. What is a curse? Well, according to Merriam-Webster, it's a prayer or invocation for harm or injury to come upon another person. So here's the thing. In order to curse someone, I must first demonize them. And the acts of demonizing and dehumanizing are kissing cousins. So after the insurrection, the popular social researcher Brene Brown offered words on her podcast, Unlocking Us. And I think about this podcast, I think about her words all the time. She said, "We are edging closer and closer to a world where political and ideological discourse is basically defined as an exercise in dehumanization. So when the President of the United States, Donald Trump, refers to a black woman as a dog, as he did in a tweet after firing someone from a position in the White House, we should get chills down our spine and resistance in our veins. When we hear people referred to as animals or aliens, we should immediately think to ourselves, is this an attempt to reduce someone's humanity so that we can get away with hurting them? What's the long game here?" I agree with Brene Brown. When we curse, we dehumanize, no matter how worthy we deem the target of our ill will. Doesn't matter. That said, when I read the Washington Post every morning, I feel pretty justified in my righteous indignation. According to psychologist Sylvia Boorstein, we might need a little righteous indignation to mobilize, but that anger won't sustain us in the long run. So, how do we move from this cursing phase to a more productive space? Maybe we look to the divine. Let me go back to the Parsha for a second. As hard as Balaam tries to curse the Israelites, he fails repeatedly. No curse escapes his lips. Why? The Spirit of God, Ruach Elohim, enters him. Now, our relationships with the divine are very personal, but I'll share a little bit about mine. The Parsha inspired me to recommit to an old practice I'd abandoned. When I'm about to curse or badmouth someone, I press the pause button. I take a breath. I wait for the divine to enter my being. And I ask myself, what good will come of my curse? How am I contributing to dehumanizing or othering? Believe me, I'm a work in progress, but I'm trying. And trying to kick an old habit and adhering to the adage, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all, is a worthy struggle. Well, let's take it up a notch. Back to Balaam. So not only does Balaam not curse the Israelites, but when he opens his mouth to speak, out comes a blessing. And not just any blessing, a prayer that we say every time we enter the shul. How goodly are your tents, O Jacob, ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. Well, what if we were to retrain our brains to pause, maybe feel the divine, and then recite a blessing instead of a curse? And this plan brings to mind something else I've been pondering for a while since the morning of the first Seder, when Gila Sachs, the daughter of the late Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, materialized on my Facebook feed, poised, brilliant, and ready to rock my world. And this is what she said about freeing ourselves from old patterns, like cursing. Patterns of behavior are shaped via neural pathways connecting different parts of the brain. Say we do something bad for us. We return to that elected behavior. The more we do it, the stronger that neural pathway in our brain gets. So the more instinctive that behavior becomes. To break a habit and create a new and different neural pathway in our brain, we must acquire new habits instead and act on them consistently. Freedom is not given. We have to work for it. I'm all in. Sign me up for the freedom from that old neural pathway, that gummy, righteous self-righteous indignation that kind of sticks to the bottom of my shoe and follows me wherever I go. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not going to get angry and I'm not going to curse or play my fight song full blast, because there seems to be a new reason to do so every single day. But if we can draw from today's Parsha, this ancient text, and call upon the divine and maybe even a little neuroscience as helpers, we'll be more effective in doing the great deal of work that has been set out for us. So I leave you with an idea for a blessing to replace the curse. I've been using it since I've been writing the Devar, and it's pretty effective. For now, let us start with Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov. May we strive to keep our tents, yours and mine, goodly. Shabbat shalom.